Hello, everyone. The core keyword in today's news is undoubtedly Japan, and this keyword involves two currently extremely hot, super hot, Japanese political figures, Sanai Takaichi, the first female prime minister in Japanese history, and Shi Ping, the first ethnic Chinese senator in Japanese history. Sanai Takaichi's surge in popularity stems from her meeting with Trump and a series of agreements that could significantly impact U.S.-Japan relations, including China-Japan relations, especially the Rare Earth Agreement. Xi Jinping's viral moment, meanwhile, comes from his public tirade against Xi Jinping. Not an exaggeration on our part, but a genuine, full-throated verbal assault, including but not limited to terms like spee, stupid pig, 200 gene, and a series of highly damaging and deeply insulting remarks. What does it mean when a sitting Japanese lawmaker openly unleashes such a barrage against the top leader of the Chinese Communist Party? The case of He Weidong and 9 other generals secretly building private armies was only just exposed online, and almost simultaneously, explosive details emerged about the major cases involving Li Shangfu and the Rocket Force. Details that can only be described as shocking and chilling. This series of major cases truly involves the United States and significant leaks from the CIA to the Rocket Force. The author states with absolute certainty that these explosive contents do not come from street rumors, but from the unpublished criminal court verdicts of Li Shangfu and others. Who could obtain these verdict documents and have the audacity to publicly expose them? Today is October 28th, Eastern Time. I am Tang Jingyuan. Welcome to subscribe to our channel. You will not only know what happened, but also why it happened. Even before Trump's visit to Japan, the outside world widely expected U.S.-Japan relations to warm, given that Sanai Takaichi has long been seen as the inheritor of the Abe line, and Trump's good relationship with Abe is well known. Yet in reality, the outside world still underestimated the intensity of this Trump-Takaichi interaction. This is evident from the following scenes. At the start of their meeting today, local time, Takaichi set the tone immediately, declaring, "Japan and the United States are the greatest alliance in the world." She promptly referenced the late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Then Takaichi took the lead in proposing during the talks, "I hope we can jointly usher in a new golden era of the alliance." How did Trump respond? He emphasized, "We are allies at the highest level," presented Takaichi with 2 golf caps embroidered in large gold letters with "Japan is back," and then made a highly unusual statement. "I want you to know that whenever you have any problem, any doubt, anything you want, anything I can do for Japan, we will be there." In my recollection, Trump has never made such a give you anything you want statement to any foreign allied leader, not even to Abe during his lifetime. This amounts to publicly endorsing Takaichi's new golden era vision. While this certainly includes elements of diplomatic rhetoric, it clearly highlights Trump's high level of recognition and appreciation for Takaichi. Sanai Takaichi posted on her official X account photos of herself and Trump riding Marine One to a U.S. military base in Japan, accompanied by a post in Japanese and English, "With my great ally and friend, President Trump." We can see that Takaichi's admiration and support for Trump are completely unreserved. For example, she gifted Trump a golf bag and clubs signed by Prime Minister Abe, further solidifying her image as Abe's successor. During the talks, she personally told Trump that she would formally nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize, praising him, "Under your leadership, the world became more peaceful in a short time, and I am deeply inspired." At the U.S. base in Japan, when Trump introduced, "Let Japan's first female prime minister say a few words," Takaichi jumped up in excitement, a scene strikingly similar to Elon Musk's enthusiastic jumping and waving at his first appearance with Trump at a campaign rally in Butler. Moreover, Takaichi made a stunning move. She announced during the talks that she would personally donate 250 cherry trees to beautify Washington, D.C. for President Trump and added, "As far as I know, on July 4th next year, Japanese fireworks will be set off in Washington, D.C." We can see that the strong interaction between Trump and Takaichi has gone beyond the normal protocol of a new prime minister receiving a leader from an important allied country. It has rapidly elevated to a state where national interests and personal relationships are advancing in lockstep on a massive scale. There can only be one explanation. Takaichi and Trump had already reached a high degree of consensus on political philosophy and ideology long ago, which is why there is this extraordinary, heartfelt mutual appreciation and friendliness. Thus, rather than saying Takaichi is Abe's successor, it is more accurate to say she is a Japanese female version of Trump. Clearly, Takaichi's high-spec, unabashedly laudatory reception of Trump has a strong intent to ride the momentum. She wants to leverage Trump to achieve the greatest goal of the Abe line, normalizing Japan as a sovereign nation. From any perspective, the Abe faction has waited for what can only be described as the best historical opportunity. Trump sees this clearly, and the CCP sees it even more clearly. This is why the CCP spared no effort to directly interfere and break the LD Pico Maito coalition, even at the cost of prematurely offending Takaichi, who is highly likely to become Japan's next prime minister, just to prevent her rise to power to the greatest extent possible. The real reason lies here. The Japan normalization that Takaichi pursues means one hard indicator will be realized. A Taiwan contingency is a Japan contingency. This means Japan will not only have greater political motivation to oppose a CCP invasion of Taiwan, but also greater military capability to intervene in a Taiwan Strait war. For the CCP, invading Taiwan would not only face strong U.S. military intervention, but could also add a formidable opponent in Japan, one with immense military strength and industrial potential, dramatically reducing the probability of winning a Taiwan Strait war. Of course, the biggest gain from Trump's Japan visit, something many friends are closely watching, is the rare earth agreement, a critical step for Trump to de-CCP the rare earth supply chain and escape Beijing's chokehold and coercion. Speaking of rare earths, we need to discuss Trump's Asia trip in slightly more detail. The core geostrategic keyword of this trip is rare earths, with a series of heavyweight agreements signed, including Malaysia's 18.2 million tons of rare earth reserves prioritized for direct supply to the U.S., with joint processing bases. Thailand investing $18.8 billion to purchase 80 U.S.-made fighter jets in exchange for a stable nickel-cobalt export mechanism. Cambodia signing a reciprocal trade agreement, eliminating 100% tariffs on the U.S., embedding mineral development and environmental clauses. South Korea doubling down. Rare earth refining plus deep battery cooperation, with corporate commitments of $350 billion in U.S. domestic projects. Japan signing the U.S.-Japan Critical Mineral Supply Security Framework Agreement, rare earth separation plus permanent magnet joint R&D, with a $550 billion investment package targeting mineral autonomy. What is the significance of these agreements? After the U.S.-Japan Rare Earth Cooperation Agreement, the U.S. Japan-Australia Rare Earth Alliance can be said to have formally taken shape with clear division of labor. The U.S. provides capital, Japan provides technology, Australia provides ore. As is well known, Japan suffered from a CCP rare earth supply cutoff in 2010 and has since quietly honed its capabilities, actively developing rare earth recycling and separation technologies, achieving a leading edge while amassing substantial reserves. In early October, the U.S. and Australia signed an $8.5 billion rare earth cooperation deal. The U.S.-Japan agreement reveals plans to build a rare earth separation plant in Saskatoon, Canada, a magnet factory in Ohio, USA, and a gallium refining plant in Western Australia under joint venture. Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry will transfer rare earth separation and magnet manufacturing technology to the U.S. to accelerate scale production of high-performance magnets like neodymium, samarium, and cobalt, materials critical for defense systems, electric vehicles, and chip manufacturing. Of course, for now, the West's heaviest dependence remains on heavy rare earths from China, where an independent supply chain is objectively impossible to establish. Light rare earths are in a much better position. Regardless, Trump has at least begun prying open the map of decoupling from CCP dependence. What he needs is time. As for Takaichi's stance toward the CCP, we can glean something from the CCP's attitude toward her. Even more interestingly, Shi Ping, the first ethnic Chinese-Japanese senator, recently sanctioned by the CCP government and now viral for cursing out Xi Jinping, is a member of the Japan Innovation Party, which is in a coalition government with Takaichi's Liberal Democratic Party. Recently, Shi Ping, publicly sanctioned by the CCP, unleashed an extraordinary, full-throttle, 29-minute tirade against Xi Jinping on his personal YouTube channel. Beyond mocking Xi's numerous failed prestige projects, he used explosive terms including, but not limited to elementary school student, SB, stupid pig, and 200 gene, a level of ferocity unprecedented among sitting Japanese senators. During the program, Shi Ping also openly criticized his alma mater, Peking University, saying that without his little red book, she wouldn't even know what his own thoughts were, yet PKU actually established a so-called research center for Xi Jinping thought. This is Peking University's eternal shame. At the end, Shi Ping posed a soul-searching question. A moron like this, if he came to power in Japan, would be pulled down in less than 2 years. Yet this moron has now monopolized power and stably ruled 1.3 billion Chinese people for 13 years, with no one able to shake him. Why is that? Of course, people can have different views on Mr. Shi Ping's soul-searching question, but I believe the real explosive point of this incident is that a lawmaker from a ruling coalition party in Japan is openly cursing out Xi Jinping by name without the slightest concern about whether this will affect China-Japan relations. Although the Japan Innovation Party currently does not have cabinet ministers, for a political figure to directly call out and curse the CCP party chief in this way is itself highly thought-provoking. Recall that when Singapore's former prime minister's wife, Ho Ching, merely reposted an article criticizing Xi as a mafia boss, it caused a sensation. Now, a Japanese lawmaker is publicly cursing him to his face on YouTube. The firepower is on a completely different magnitude. Although Mr. Shi Ping also mentioned that Xi's position remained unchanged at the fourth plenary session, disappointing many, his unprecedented intensity in criticizing Xi suggests he still saw something in what happened at the fourth plenum. The fourth plenary session still has many unsolved mysteries, and even more emerged after it ended. One explosive piece of information, exposed and immediately suppressed at lightning speed, is a prime example. Partial verdict contents from the sweeping case that took down Li Shangfu and the Rocket Force have been made public. Recently, a WeChat public account article with depth charge level content drew attention. The title alone is chilling. In-depth expose defense minister and Rocket Force commander successively fall. They were all hunted by the U.S. and deceives. The article is not long and wastes no time on preamble. It dives straight into the goods, directly exposing the main charges against 3 consecutive Rocket Force commanders. The first tiger of the Rocket Force, Wang Hongyao, in equipment procurement designated sellers and conducted fake bidding, inflating the unit price of a certain missile launcher's tires from the military budget of 180,000 yuan to 380,000 yuan, with the difference laundered through a Hong Kong shell company owned by Wang's relatives, totaling 430 million yuan. Rocket Force Deputy Commander Zhang Zhenjiang, in 2015, directly awarded an inertial navigation chip contract for a batch of Dongfeng 26 missiles to Beijing Tian Times Micro Company, whose behind-the-scenes shareholder was a U.S. fund. The judge specifically highlighted this operation, causing the early failure rate of our military's new missiles to increase 3.6 times. Zhang was found to have accepted bribes of 117 million renminbi plus a Manhattan apartment in New York, valued at $8.5 million. This Zhang Zhenjiang had another major case. In October 2022, the U.S. Congressional Research Service submitted a 225-page report to the Senate Intelligence Committee titled People's Liberation Army Rocket Force Order of Battle, with appendices that reportedly made Chinese counterintelligence personnel gasp. The Rocket Force's 6 base designations, target parameters, and missile quantities had errors of no more than 3%, compared to internal top-secret documents. Appendix B listed a cooperation roster containing 8 retired or active PLA personnel, coded R1 to R8. Among them, R3 and R5 corresponded to the pinyin initials of Zhang Zhenzhong and Wei Fenghe. The article claims the U.S. paid Zhang Zhenzhong's wife a total of $12 million in consulting fees through a Hong Kong intermediary. In December 2023, Rocket Force Commander Zhou Yining was taken down. In his Baoding underground storage room were found 328 kilograms of gold bars, with central bank registration numbers still intact from the Shanghai Gold Exchange, 78 full cases of 1960 vintage Matai, and 59 top-secret documents sealed in moisture-proof boxes involving the Rocket Force's full firepower plan through 2025. Page 9 of the verdict quotes Zhou Yining's own confession. The gold bars were for the Americans to hold in trust, saying they'd be for sending my grandson to study in the U.S. in the future. Next came Wei Fenghe, charged with disloyalty. The indictment shows that from 2016 to 2019, through his wife's brother, he split the Dongfeng 31 AG simulation training software project into 12 subcontracts, all awarded to CTech Limited, registered in the British Virgin Islands, whose controlling entity was a subcontractor of U.S. Lockheed Martin. Wei directly accepted bribes of 274 million renminbi and received a hillside villa in Los Angeles. When Wei Fenghe's son Wei arrived at the villa, he sent a WeChat voice message. "Dad, the house is secured. Can we send out that set of simulation training software source code now?" The article says this voice message was intercepted by the FBI, later returned to China through diplomatic channels, and became the first audio played in court. As for the heavyweight focal figure Li Shangfu, he was charged in 2020 with leaking bid bottoms for a domestic hypersonic vehicle's carbon-carbon composite material tender to Beijing Hangtimes Tech, which then sourced raw materials from U.S. Carbon Valley Company, marking up 70% in the process. Li Shangfu's son, using a Singapore passport, opened a custody account at Credit Suisse, accumulating $138 million over 3 years. Then on page 43 of the verdict, after learning of the organization's investigation, Li Shangfu still transferred encrypted hard drives to U.S. agents 3 times through intermediaries, circumstances particularly egregious. The article even describes movie-like details. In 2019, Li Shangfu's white glove equipment department staff officer Yang met U.S.-Chinese National Huang at a tea house near Beijing's Aerospace Bridge. The article writes that Yang slapped a USB drive with the bids onto the table. 3 bid bottoms inside, $2 million each, no haggling. Huang immediately logged into a Swiss bank on his computer. The mobile banking record showed beneficiary, LI Times Trust. Amount, $6 million US. This article was quickly censored shortly after appearing. No one knows who the author, signed Wind Direction Observation, really is. But one thing is certain. The Rocket Force and Li Shangfu series cases are all high-level military cases. Neither indictments nor verdicts are accessible to outsiders or even ordinary military personnel, much less publicly released. Second, have you noticed? The timing of this article's exposure is almost synchronous with the leak of He Weidong's secret armed seizure of power case. The article shows the Li Shangfu and Wei Fenghe cases were tried in June last year, over a year ago, with not a single word of detail leaking before. Yet now, right after the 4th plenary session, as the He Weidong case ferments, they are mysteriously thrown out by an anonymous account. Moreover, you may recall that in July 2023, the official WeChat account of the CMC Equipment Development Department published an announcement on collecting clues of violations in military equipment procurement tender evaluation, openly soliciting corruption leads, and explicitly tracing irregularities in equipment procurement tenders since October 2017. The exact date Zhang Yoxia handed over to Li Shangfu. This news was widely seen at the time as Xi Jinping knocking Zhang Yoxia. In the Rocket 4 series verdict contents we just shared, Both Zhang Xinzhong's equipment corruption and Wei Fenghe's source code leak occurred in 2015 and 2016, respectively. Do you see it? The spearhead of this article points to whom is self-evident. The details of the He Weidong and Miao Hua political megacases are now circulating through multiple channels, leaving Xi extremely passive. Therefore, we see the shocking details of Li Shangfu, Wei Fenghe, and others released almost simultaneously. The message is clear. You want to smear me? Let's see who can smear whom, and who will have the last laugh is not yet certain. We have said repeatedly, keep Xi in place, and he will never cooperate obediently. He will definitely strike back to disrupt the game. Let us continue to watch the show.